Hey guys, this is Manga here with a new video, and in this video we will be using the perspective guide in Comic Draw. Comic Draw, created by award-winning developer Plasq, is one you can view as the ultimate comic creation app. And links to where you'll be able to find Comic Draw I'll leave in the description below. For those who don't know me, I'm Whyt Manga, creator of Apple Black, published and serialized on Saturday AM. And Saturday AM is a digital magazine, digital comic anthology magazine. And for those who are interested in, wanting one day to publish your own original content, your own original idea, you can check out what we have going on right now. It's called Summer of Manga, and links to that will also be in the description. So let's get into this video. So here we're trying to use the perspective guide. You can see it at the upper right, and once you click on that, it kind of has like a spider web kind of shape. And once you click on that, and then you click on the plus icon and also at the upper left, and you see the options for the point perspective you want. You can see like just a 1 point, 2 point, 3 point perspective, and then I picked the 3 point, the third one. Actually 2 points, sorry, but it's like from a different angle. You kind of have the options to choose from, and then when you click on the one you want, and then you have this grid. And once you using the icon in the middle, you can kind of click and drag. You can also adjust where you want the grid to be placed, and then you can click and drag how you want the perspective lines to be placed. And that's what I'm doing right now. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna freestyle and come up with like a background drawing really quick with this, and to show you how useful this tool can be when it comes to, say, drawing things that are maybe a little more architectural in nature, or drawing an object and you want to draw it from a really dynamic angle and things like that. Here I've chosen, if you look at the 2 point perspective, you can't see like the actual vanishing points like you saw before as I was dragging through, but they're like outside, right? But the lines, they're kind of like pointing towards those directions, but they're not on the canvas. You can play with the opacity at the top. You can, once you click on that spider web kind of icon, but it's the perspective guide icon, and you can play around with the opacity of it, and you can play whether you want to show the guidelines, which is the grid, and you can also play if you want to have it, anything you draw snap to the grid. Now going into Comic Draw already, we're going to go with the pencil. As you know, once you go into the app, it's you are in like a sketching mode, in a sketching layer. And if you want to get updated, this is kind of like a series, and this is just the newest installment to my series on the Comic Draw app. So I'll leave a link to the playlist where you can check out all the other videos, so you can be up to date and you would understand the app almost like a prerequisite to this video. But either way, even if you've not watched those videos, you should be fine for the most part, especially if you're familiar with art softwares and things of that nature. So as you can see at the top, if you remember, I had that I made sure that it was a snap to grid, and anything I draw, it's just automatically going to be a straight line, and it's going to correspond with the this is actually 3 point perspective. There's like another vanishing point at the top, so you have one at the top and two on both sides. And again, when you had those options, it kind of shows you have 1 point perspective, 2 point, 3 point, and it goes on. And here I've picked the 3 point perspective. So, and once I have it snapped to grid, anything in the sketch, I'm just sketching right now, but the app kind of is programmed to make sure everything is in order. And this only works if the snap to grid is on. And once you have this on, now I'm just drawing shapes, because with backgrounds you kind of want to have focus on the shapes first, and then you can go in detail. Same way you think about, at least the same method I apply when I'm drawing characters, where I draw the pose and all that kind of stuff, figure out the camera angle and all of that, and then I go in with the details afterwards. So here I'm just going with simple box shapes, but you can be really you can be more intricate in how you want to do things. And there will be some times where maybe you don't want to use the grid at all. And so you can remove the snap. You can turn off the snap and you can just draw normally. But as long as you have the snap on, you're kind of going to be drawing in at least one of the directions of the vanishing points. Again, this is 3 point perspective, so you have the one vanishing point on the left. So if you're kind of drawing and your hand is going in the motion to the left is going to go to that direction. Same thing on the right, and same thing at the top. So you have this cool anti-view perspective for this backgrounds. Again, I'm still in the sketch layer. I just really freestyle this, and it was just, you can just see me starting off with the idea that these are just like rectangle boxes, cube, whatever things, and later I'll go in with details. And again, you know, you can also look at real life backgrounds for inspiration for initial shapes and things like that. But here I've gone with like a simple background drawings, not to make things too complicated for this video. You can see some buildings are in like a triangle shape or blah 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 blah. And again, if you really wanted to go intricate with it, there will probably be times where you wouldn't want to snap to the grid. But here I have things snapped to the grid, and I'm just sketching, and that's probably where a window would go. And I just have, you know, I'm just playing around with the sketch. And after that, I will go on to the inking layer, and then I'll ink all of this. And if you notice right now, it's all just on the pencil, and for the style of the pencil, it's kind of like freehand. But you'll be able to change that, as you will see I will do in the inking, to make it like a straight line. Here is really just sketching. It's almost like I'm sketching the whole thing, but it's programmed to make sure that the lines are all pointing towards the appropriate vanishing points. And all of this works much better, especially if you already have a pre-existing idea of how perspective works. But here the perspective guide just helps you extra. So now after this, my plan, it would be to just, you know, sketch, figure out how I want things to look, and then I'll be back for the inking phase. One great help would be to kind of use reference and look at buildings, look at real life, and figure out characteristics of backgrounds, and that will help you kind of decide what you want to do and what details you want to add to it. Here I'm going to leave space where I can draw some characters. Again, this is anti-view, but we're a little more leveled with the characters, so the anti-view on the character is not going to be that much, especially judging from the distance. Judging by the distance that we can see the character. I'm going to draw like a Morpheus looking character here, and maybe I'll freestyle a couple other characters on the side. Now we're going to move on to the inking layer, and that will just be, you can see the three icons at the top, and you can just switch from the sketch, which is the most on the left, to the one in the middle. And the one at the most right is like the text bubble, but we're not going to deal with that. Just click on the one in the middle, and that'll change everything to like an inking mode. Another way to do it would just be to create an extra layer, but that's a quick way to do it. And now in the inking phase, here I want to make sure that you have a preset for like an ink brush, which is already there once you get the app. And again, you want to make sure you're snapping to grid, and you can show guidelines. With the option to show guidelines, it helps, I guess, but you already have your sketch kind of planned out, but I'd show guidelines either way, just in case. And now if you just draw or like ink, it's the same idea that you would have, say, doing it traditionally, except traditionally you would have to plot out your vanishing points and all the vanishing points and all the things you would need to successfully do perspective drawings. But here, if you go just normal with the regular freehand tool with the inking pen, it's a little more difficult, because then the lines are very, you know, some parts will be thick, some parts will not be that thick, because the Comic Draw app has things where it's pressure sensitive, and it didn't matter when we were sketching because it's the sketch layer, we're not going to use it anyways. But in the inking layer, if you want to be a little more if you want to have a little more finesse, unless you want this rough feel, because sometimes that's what people want, but if you want to have a little more finesse and you want the lines to be a little more crisp, you would want to change, you can stay on the inking pen tool, and you can see the toolbar on the left, but you can stay on that, but you change it from freehand to line. And if you look at the toolbar in the bottom half, you can see like the little, almost looks like a snake. but I will eventually change that to a line, and you can see things will be more crisp. Either way, whether it's a line or freehand, you can also play around with how thick the stroke is, how thick you want the stroke to be, and things like that. But as you can see, playing around with just freehand, some parts are thick, some parts aren't. That's not really what I want for this background drawing. I don't mind that if I'm drawing organic things like trees or people or things like that. But for this, you can see I've changed it to a line. It's a little more, everything's just more crisp, and that's what I want. Again, you can still play around with the stroke, but I like the stroke how it is currently. I might just tinker with it a little bit here and there, but for the most part, I'm satisfied with what I have. And now you're just going over the pencils that we laid down. We already have enough details for the video to kind of get the point across. Anyone who looks at this can already tell it, okay, this person is in some kind of urban area, this character. So I guess you can take this as a scene from the Matrix. I don't know, do what you want. One of the things that I wish the Comic Draw app was it's a little crispy on, and I'm sure with time to work on it, would be the paint bucket tool, because filling in can be really, really tricky in the app. But for the most part, if you know what you're doing, you can figure your way around it. Because later on, I had issues with filling in some spots that I wanted to fill in, but instead I had to go in manually and just draw it in. But everything still worked out fine. So here the same thing. I have the stroke on, and it's just basically inking the pencils. This is what you would do traditionally, except now you can have it on the go on your iPad. The eraser tool works fine. You can just go there, erase. If you don't want something in there, you just erase it out. Erasing, you just make sure you're on the correct layer. So here I'm on the inking layer, so I'm erasing parts of the lines that I'm creating right now, inking the pencils. You can see the two layers right here. You'll be able to play around with them. If you click on the eye right next to them, you'll be able to play around with the opacity of them as well, but not necessary right now. Again, the same things apply. As long as you have snap to grid on, no matter what you do, it's going to snap to grid. When I was drawing the characters at the bottom, I made sure I removed snap to grid, because you wouldn't be able to draw properly if you have the snap on. So those are the only instances, or maybe other instances that you have a reason for. Those would be the only instances where you turn off the snap, if you're drawing like backgrounds with some kind of architectural nature to them. And from here on out, it will just be me going over the lines that I created in the sketch layer, and eventually I'll get rid of the sketch layer. You can see I've added all the windows and stuff like that, everything necessary to get my point across that this is a background, and I'll play around with the sky. But that's all I'll do when we come back. For now, you're just gonna watch me ink this. So convenient, because normally if drawing it traditionally, you have all this playing around with the ruler and maybe some French curves here every now and then. But when you have like this guide with the grid, you can it's soothing sometimes, especially for those who I know don't like drawing backgrounds very much. But if you're a comic artist, you have to. It's part of the gig, especially if it's going to be like something you want to publish to the public. Yeah. If it's a hobby thing, you can do whatever you want, but you'll look at professional comics. I mean, backgrounds, it's part of it, and backgrounds done right looks great. once I'm done with that, then I fill in some spots with the ink. I erase some of the lines, make sure I'm on the right layer, erase some lines that I don't want. Maybe the line just exceeds where I want it to be, based on where the sketch was. Right now I just have the sketch layer on invincible, so you can't see it. All you see now is just the inking layer. So I'm just going to touch it up, edit things a little bit, and then I'm going to create a newer layer. And again, if you watched the other videos on the playlist, you'll be able to follow me perfectly. So I advise you go check those videos out, but you don't necessarily need to. If you're familiar with art softwares, you should be fine. So I'm going to create an extra layer, and I'm going to I'll make sure the color is black, and then I would reduce the opacity of that to give the illusion that it's a tone. So that's what I'm doing right now. You can see me going over the character's skin, and this is on a new layer. It's a completely new layer. As you can see there, it's called layer 3 because layer 1 was the sketch, layer 2 was drawing, layer 3, that's what this is. And I just reduced the opacity, and it looks like it's grayscale basically. And then I'll just erase those parts in the shades just to give the highlights on the glasses and things like that. And that's how I'm going to add tone to the rest of the drawing. And you can watch me do that. I'll do that to the sky. I'll do that to some parts of the buildings, and then I will erase parts of the building to give the illusion of a gradient. And I'll do that in the sky. And then I'll use the eraser tool, changing the preset to charcoal to create the clouds. And you will see me do all of this, so you'll be able to follow. I'm just kind of explaining before I go through it. And one thing I wish also be played around with the app maybe in the future is if they had like a gradient tool, so you wouldn't have to manually do everything. So yeah, watch me do it, because at the end of the day, you can get it done. If you understand the app, you can still do a lot of stuff with it. So I'm adding the shadows here, and I'm also making sure it's on a separate layer, just so I don't have things tangled, and I can just reduce the opacity of just that layer so it doesn't affect all the other places that I have toned. And I'll do that for some of the writings. I'll do that for some of the windows. As you can see, I'm doing that for the window right now. I mistakenly had the snap on, that's why it was acting weird, but now I removed the snap, a little more freehand. And then you use the eraser, change the preset to something to like an airbrush, and then you can erase accordingly to give like the window is kind of like a gradient feel. And I'll do the same thing to the sky like I said I would. As you can see, again, I was trying to get some of the paint bucket tool stuff to work, but it didn't. But you can go in manually and then erase all the parts you don't want, and still end up doing what you want to do. And I'll use the eraser tool again to give it a gradient feel, and I'll change the eraser tool from that airbrush to something more of a charcoal to put in the clouds. So that'll be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you leave questions, if you have any questions on Comic Draw or Summer of Manga, you can, again, I'll leave links to everything you could possibly need. You'll be able to go check that out in the comments below. Please don't forget to leave a like in this video. Leave a comment if you have any questions. Again, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell so you stay notified each time I upload a new video. Now, I know I've kind of been inactive a little bit. To sum it up real quick, is I've had a lot of school stuff, but the semester is over now. I'm kind of back. All the news and updates that you guys have been waiting for, I'll be dropping them in due time really soon. I have a video coming out right after this, or whenever this comes out, and so y'all stay tuned for that. I'm back. Yep, for like the 1 millionth time. So yeah, guys, you guys can check out Comic Draw again. I'll leave links to everything you could possibly need, all my social media, to check out Plasq, where you can download Plasq and all that. Thank you guys for watching. It's Whyt Manga, and I'm out.